Ahead and get started. Thank you all for being here. It's always so exciting to have good showing in our audience for our agenda. That just shows us how interested and engaged Hollister residents are. So thank you all for being here. Tonight is a regular meeting of the Hollister City Council, April 6, 2026. The meeting starts at 6:30. City Clerk, can we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Pache?
Present.
Councilmember Morales? Vice Mayor Deanda? Here. Mayor Stevens?
Here.
And Councilmember Resendez is not present. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Deanda, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Thank you, Vice Mayor. Okay, so we're going to move on to our agenda. City Manager, we're at the closed session. Do we have anything to report out?
Yes, we do. In
Okay.
closed session on March 16th, 2026, the City Council voted 4-0. Council Member Morales was absent, to enter into a stipulated judgment with the California Department of Housing and Community Development.
Okay, thank you, City Manager. Okay, we're going to go on to special orders of the day. I am so excited to be able to begin our agenda today with this speaker and this presentation. Let me tell you why. So Ms. Nordstrom is a young lady from our high school, San Bernardino High School, who came to one of our city council meetings and during the open public comment session made a comment about parks and what's happening with parks, and she had a general question. It was not part of our agenda, so we couldn't speak to it. But I invited her to check in with one or all of us about her thoughts, and she did. She followed up with me. And so since then, her and I have been engaged with her advisor, Ms. Nichols, and herself about elevating the youth voice around things that we could be doing in Hollister. And I'm just going to ask that you listen to her thoughts and the work that she did on this project, not just simply as what the city council or the city can do, but really about how all of Hollister can listen to the youth because it's relevant. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to ask Ms. Nordstrom to come up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Stevens. Okay, so I just have a quick 10-minute presentation about the youth voices on improving Hollister. Okay, so a little while back, so there's just table of contents for later, or? Give us just a second. Okay. So here's just a quick slideshow about the survey I did a while back about gaining more of Hollister youth voices in reference to what can be improved about Hollister, particularly about improving youth opportunities for recreation. And so, as the mayor talked about, I attended a meeting a while back, shared a comment, and then she inspired me to start a project to gain more perspectives from youth in both high school and our surrounding middle schools. And so I conducted a needs assessment following 4 categories just to get more data about what the youth are interested in and involve their voices in these sorts of decisions.
Julia, can you lift up your microphone and just so that we can all hear? Because I know I can hear you, but I'm not sure that everybody can. And yeah, we want to hear what you have to say. It's really important. Okay, thank you, sweetie.
So the survey topics that I surveyed were separated into parks and outdoor focused recreation, entertainment, food, and then just one-day events. So not necessarily like institutional changes or additions, but just little activities. And the way that we communicated the survey was through collaboration with a counselor at the high school. We made sure that the survey went out to the students at the high school through daily reminders and emails and through their morning announcements. And then middle school administrators were also contacted with the survey so that we could broaden the demographic of voices that are being heard. And then, so the first category was, this is just the high school results. The middle school results are at the end. But this one had 228 entries submitted within the week time frame that we gave them. And just some highlights from there were the hiking and walking trails received a lot of interest, average score of 7.73 out of 10. I gave them like a rating on different topics to see what they were interested in. Second was a zip line, and comments were made about that in the ending of the survey, mentioning that the zip line would have to include a higher weight limit in order to be more accessible to all members of the community. And then the third choice was mini golf, and then other honorable mentions were a picnic area and a rock climbing wall. And then I really liked the suggestion of the hiking and walking trails, specifically because this could serve a double use as a cross-country track for our very active but small community of distance runners. And then just some popular comments that were received at the end were that they wanted an outdoor multi-purpose sports area for students to have a safe place to do any sports and sports activities with the particular equipment and environment that they need to enjoy those. And then a community swimming pool outside of SBA was also a popular comment. And then other than that, a general recreation facility with smaller games, indoor games, and table tennis. Then outside of that, there was ice skating rink and go-karting suggested. And then other comments included asking current parks to be cleaned up so that they provide a safer environment for our students. Then here's just some more suggestions that you guys can look at later, since this slideshow will be supplied to you. And then it's just some more. And the second category was entertainment. This received just a few less entries, but still a lot for the week time frame that we gave them. Some highlights were the arcade, bowling alley, and trampoline park, as well as an escape room and laser tag. And one comment specifically about a roller rink was from an adamant student who mentioned that they were part of Hollister's roller derby team, and say that they would really appreciate roller rinks, that they would have a local place to practice. And then some popular comments in this section was a lot of students were really interested in having a real mall indoor instead of just the outlets where they could shop and be inside and have a food court and all the things that you would enjoy at a mall that you would have to drive an hour to currently. Other suggestions were a better community stage and Dave & Buster's, and then a lot of students suggested round one as well. And then one suggestion that wasn't as popular, but I really liked, was a petting zoo, which I think would fit the environment of Hollister currently with our agricultural and animal focus. And then our third topic was specifically around food, like what sorts of restaurants and businesses we'd like to invite to sell at Hollister. Chick-fil-A was obviously very popular, but second to that was buffet, and a lot of students were adamant about a Raising Cane's. And then themes in the free response, these were not included in their options to choose, but a lot of students commented about it, were In-N-Out, Chili's, or frozen yogurt. And one commenter was super excited about the idea of frozen yogurt, specifically because they were really sad when the past one closed down. And the last section for the high schoolers was about just one-day events that we could make annual in order to just build the community in Hollister. And then I really like this one. The first one that got a lot of interest was the Cultural Food Festival, which I think would be a great way to appreciate all the different cultures in Hollister. Second was community cooking and music lessons, and one commenter from a student added that this would be a good way to show the musical talent in Hollister, specifically with the band kids being able to be more involved and inspire more interest in musical development. And then the third choice was a stargazing event to enjoy the wide open skies that we get here in Hollister. And then other honorable mentions were a craft fair, a baking competition, and a film festival. And I think that last one would be especially interesting to some of the more artsy students here. Popular comments were a community flea market, live cook-offs and bake-offs, performances that would invite our students at high school who work really hard in dance to showcase their talents outside of the school. And then more carnivals and fairs was obviously popular. And then a lot were more interested in the musical aspect of Hollister, with getting concerts perhaps from local bands or the high school bands so that they could show their talents as a member of the community. And then here were just some other suggestions, like a book signing or fun runs, which I think would be a great way to increase the partnership between Hollister and charities and local charities. And then over to the middle school, so this is a bit of a younger demographic. This got 148 entries in total. The highlights from the Parks and Rec section were an indoor basketball court, zip line was still very popular, and a rock climbing wall, as well as mini golf, biking trails, and an archery range. And then they were also very interested, which they showed in their comments, in more outdoor areas for sports, allowing for them to have more access to places to practice, and also a track for BMX bikes. And then highlights from the entertainment section was arcade, trampoline park, and laser tag, as well as an escape room, a bowling alley, and mini golf, so that we see some overlap with the escape room and laser tag. And then popular comments from there was wanting like an amphitheater, like an outside theater, and a place to do axe throwing or having a petting zoo. Obviously not together. And then here are just the finishing highlights from the middle school's summary, or the middle school survey. And this were the highlights from food were Raising Cane's was still very popular, a buffet, and Chick-fil-A, as well as a Chinese restaurant. And then they were also very adamant about wanting an In-N-Out. And then other popular comments were about wanting like authentic cultural restaurants, like Mexican restaurants, Japanese food, just show more of the cultural aspect of food that can be shared. And then event highlights from there were the Cultural Food Festival, more community cooking and music lessons, and a scavenger hunt, which is something that they were very excited about. And then other popular comments were that they wanted more parades, meet and greets with sports players, and more holiday-themed events in Hollister. And then I thought this comment was really cute. This person thought it would be super fun if they could have the mayor join them for a day and bring them McDonald's. And then, sorry, just one more important slide and some suggestions I feel like moving forward would be important are to focus on the parks and outdoor recreation suggestions first, because I think this would be a great way to build upon the atmosphere and environment that Hollister already has in place. And then I think many of the events and smaller projects would also be a great way to start and build more community engagement, as well as offer opportunities for our high school students to earn their state civic engagement through involvement in these sorts of projects. And then a lot of these ideas can be lumped together, which I mentioned with the hiking, walking trails, with the outdoor cross-country track, etc. And then future collaboration. These ideas obviously wouldn't be built from the funds of one person. One thing with the survey is to build interest, or to show that there is interest in these ideas so that we can collaborate with other organizations working towards the same goal in order to get these things in Hollister, like with Parks and Rec and Hollister Downtown Association, and then as well as some of our clubs in Hollister. And then that is it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Julia. What a great presentation. And I don't usually encourage this, but let's give her a round of applause. So yeah, thank you. Very impressive and a lot for all of us to think about. But I'm going to check in with our city council to see if we have any questions or comments. So I'm going to check on this side with Councilmember Pache.
Fantastic. That was an incredible presentation. A lot of great ideas. Some of these things we do have, but maybe they could be a little bit better. We do have some hiking. We have some open fields where we can play some, maybe not exactly like disc golf. There is a disc golf course, I guess, on Park Hill. There's a community garden up there too if people want to get involved. Some of these would be great business ideas. So I don't know if it's something that the city would per se get into, but there's actually if we get a little bit more into it, there's a lot of cool stuff that we actually already have. But I'm really kind of interested in a nutshell, you must have had a ton of responses. How did you go through all of those and drill it down and filter it out so you could make sense and put it into the 4 categories?
So a fun thing about the little Google Forms, which is how I made the survey, was that they give the option to make a rating system. So a lot of the options were put into this rating system. And then a little fun thing that Google Forms does for you is that it shows you the average rating that they got. So from there, I was able to look at which one got the highest out of 10 and make my first, second, and third choice. And then my favorite thing to look at were the comments, because that's where you really get to see their voices shine as individuals.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. So you used some technology and it helped get all that down, because I was like, wow, how would I even calculate all this information, right? Well, the cool thing is we have some of these things, and as a swimmer, I would love to see a community swimming pool. That would be fantastic, and the volleyball would be totally incredible. And I've even heard the city manager express interest in having a better, like, a facility for sports, like indoor soccer, volleyball. But very well done. Very well done. Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember. I'm going to go on this side. Councilmember Morales?
No, wonderful job, and looks like you had some support from a lot of folks, so thank you for mentoring our future leaders, or current future leaders that will be up here hopefully soon. Great job. I think this provides some really helpful insight as we look at our strategic plan. And I think for the council to consider is, does this turn into a work plan? How do we integrate this? Are you part of our youth commission currently? Are you interested in being part of our youth commission? Who helps lead policy for the city of Hollister? But I'd like to see this translated into work plan. What is something we can do? What can we share with our community partners for that to move forward, for others to adopt? But this is the beginning of hopefully something that will turn into action. Thank you for the work.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Councilmember. Vice Mayor Deanda, go ahead.
Thank you so much, and thank you for piloting this survey here. I'm really excited. Honestly, I think this is a start of something that we've needed for a long, long time. I also got nostalgic because we used to have a bowling alley, we used to have an arcade, we used to have live bands, and it was so much fun. And we don't have that anymore. And to know that that was back in the 1990s, early 2000s, and we're still here, and our youth is still left behind, and the lack of economical development, most of everything that was on here, that were the things that I wanted growing up here as a kid, as a teenager, right? And so I think this is really important that, that we actually start moving forward and focusing on our youth, right? And economic growth. And this is actually something the city manager and myself were just talking about, just things for our youth, like what can we do for our youth? And I know you had mentioned, Councilmember Morales, about utilizing the empty Kmart building. And so I see a lot of potential in that way for maybe like an arcade or something, one of those jump places or whatever. But yeah, I love it. I love it. And thank you so much for doing this. Thank you.
So much.
Thank you. Yeah, and so, I want to, well, first of all, I'm so proud of you. I've gotten to know Julia over the last few months, and I'm just so impressed, and I'm just so proud of her. It takes a lot of courage to do this, and especially as somebody so young, so thank you so much. I do want to just check in really quick with our city manager, Ana Cortez, and our Parks and Recs guy, Charles Wall, just to see if you have any comments, just because it's relevant to both of you and conversations that I've had with both of you.
So Julia actually reached out to the Parks and Rec department, and I have put it on my team to get her involved. I apologize because we were moving some offices and things, and I didn't get back to your last email as of yet, but I promise I will. And also, please text me on my work cell. It's right there circled for you anytime, because we are excited to get more involvement from the community. And as a matter of fact, the city manager has put really as an expectation for parks to see more events and more things come to the community that enrich the community, focus on the community as a whole, but kind of bring that economic development portion into all of this, looking at our athletic facilities, and then also just more events. So I would be very excited for our department to partner with hopefully a group that you put together from the high school or from all the schools together, and we can kind of get this thing going. I'd be excited. Thank you.
Indeed.
Thank you.
So what I will say is that, we have our own consultants right here. Please remember this. We pay consultants lots of money to give us information about our own community, when in fact we have community members who can do that at a fraction of the cost and with a lot more validity. So this is very exciting. In fact, I've made my notes to connect some of the elements of this presentation to my section under 9.3, under economic development, because that's what we are saying. Young people, you call it recreation, we call it economic development. When you're happy, you spend your money here, and that's what we want. So this is very exciting. Thank you so much, Ms. Nordstrom.
Yes. So I'll just end with again, like I'm so impressed. I've been so impressed with you throughout the whole process, and I want to thank Ms. Nichols for all the support, and her mom, Ms. Nordstrom, she's sitting there. Thank you so much for allowing her to do something like this and give up so much of her time and raising such an incredible daughter, and then also thank your dad, who I happen, of course, like in Hollister, I happen to know him, and so so thank you so much. And I think if you can hear, are going to want to probably hear more from you, Julia. So we might be putting you to work a little more, but I think that you're up for the task. And just thank you so much. This is such an incredible presentation, and you did such great work. So thank you so much, and we'll keep in touch. Okay, so let's give her one last round of applause, everyone. Okay, so yeah, hate to have to follow that, but we are going to move on with our agenda. 5.2 Water Awareness Month proclamation. So this is a really important issue, as you are all aware. Living in Hollister and San Benito County, water is always our probably, if not the most valuable asset, but a very, very important asset. So today we declare May 2026 as Water Awareness Month in the city of Hollister. Water is one of our most vital resources in California, and in California, ongoing challenges continue to impact our water supply. Ensuring a reliable, high-quality water system is essential to the health, safety, and quality of life in our community. The City of Hollister remains committed to promoting efficient water use and encouraging conservation efforts year-round, not just during times of drought. During the month of May, I encourage all residents, businesses, and organizations to take simple but meaningful steps to reduce water use at home and at work, and to explore available resources for water-saving practices. So yes, as I said, very, very crucial to this community. And I'm going to invite Miss, let me see if I'm going to say your name right, Barbosa Osorio.
Yes.
Please come up. I know you have a few words that you want to say
Yes.
and present. Okay, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. So my name's Lindy. I am the program manager for water conservation here in San Benito County. And I developed a quick presentation to kind of give a run through of all of the ways that we're trying to share our water efficiency throughout our county and some of our services that we offer our residents. Thank you. All right, so why does water awareness matters? As the mayor said, we want to make sure that we're using our water efficiently and we're saving our water. Even in moments that we're not such in a drought, we still want to make sure that we're using our water efficiently. So we aim to raise awareness about the importance of water, conserving water, and the need to protect it as a vital resource for our future. As the water program manager for water conservation, we do offer a few rebates to our Sunny Slope, City of Hollister, and City of San Juan users. So if you might seen on some of the newsletters that come out or our website, we do have a few rebates to offer you. So I'm going to go through some of them just so you know. We have our turf removal rebate, which is one of our most popular coming up this spring and summer. We give $2 per square foot, so minimum of 100 square feet to a maximum of 1,000 square feet. This is to replace your current turf to something that's more water conservative, drought tolerant plants, pavers. You can even do rocks. You can do fake turf, anything that will let the water run through our grounds, and it will save you water and save you lots of money. We also have our landscaping hardware, which is a maximum of $100, and we have more information on our website. We also offer free low-flow toilets. So any of the older homes, if you think you have a toilet older than 1992, we do give a free toilet to you or a $75 rebate. So you're able to call us up. We can double check that toilet for you and give you both options. You can choose one or the other. We also do water softeners. Our water is hard, so we try to promote our residents to not use our water softeners because when we do recycle our water with the salt, it's very difficult for us to recycle it and reuse it. So for water softeners, we're actually offering our residents $300 to remove their water softener completely. And with all of these different rebates, you would need a pre and post exam, which we would go to your home, take pictures, and just make sure that everything falls in line with our guidelines. And I have more information at the end of the slide if you want to contact us. All right, so let's see, we offer, like I said, several rebates. Water Awareness Month is all about highlighting the importance of conserving our water, and it's very limited, and water is a limited and essential resource. So I have put some of our saving water tips. So watering anywhere from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Utilizing drop irrigation is also another option. If you have any types of leaks, check your faucets or your toilets. You could also upgrade your toilets by using our services and our rebates. And water efficiency, so definitely reusing our water. I know we haven't gotten much water this year, but hopefully it does rain this week and we can reuse our water by watering our plants at home. We could also use a broom instead of hosing down, our front or backyard, and replacing our grass with drought-tolerant plants. So another service that we do offer, free water home surveys, which is our free water leak inspection. So if you call us up and you think you're having a really a leak in your home, or your water bill is going really up high and you're like, where is this coming from? I don't see a water leak. You can give us a call or we can send out our technician. Leo has been with us for over 20 years already. He's right there in the picture. I mean, you've probably seen him around in our community, and he will definitely check it out and make sure that you know what is happening. And if he's able to fix it on the spot, he will. If not, he'll give you his best recommendations to fix your issues with any type of leaks. So like I said, thank you so much. And we want to make sure that we are adopting May as Water Awareness Month. I have posted our website and our phone number. We also have an Instagram and Facebook where we share all our tips and tricks of how to save water and a reminder of all the rebates that we have. So all my information's there. Thank you.
Okay, so before you leave the podium,
Yes.
I'm going to walk down to give you the proclamation.
Yes.
And if you want to take photos, and just let us know, Charles or somebody can do that. But let me
Yes.
walk down there so I
Thank
can
you.
give this to you. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, well, thanks again for that very, very important message and presentation. Hopefully our Hollister residents will respond positively to that. Okay, so let's move on with our agenda. So now we're at public input. This is a time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item not on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speaker cards are available in the lobby and can be completed and given to the clerk before speaking. When the clerk calls your name, come to the podium, state your name and your city for our records, and speak to the city council. If you're joined by Zoom, please click on the bottom of your screen to raise your hand. If you're joining Zoom via cell phone, press the asterisk and the 9. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 per subject matter. Please note that state law prohibits the city council from discussing any action on any item that is not on the agenda. City Clerk, do we have any comments?
We have no speakers for this section of the agenda.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Okay, so we're going to move on to our consent agenda. So do any members of the council have any brief questions or comments on anything on the consent agenda?
I just have a brief comment about 7.4.
Okay.
So we're going to ratify a couple of appointments to the Business Advisory Commission. It has over and over come to our attention that it's really hard to start a business in Hollister. It's really just, you go to try to get some permits, and you're told one thing, and then it changes. It's a challenge. So a couple of folks in our community have decided to step up to the plate. Adam Hill of Hill's Bookstore and Peter Lago have been through this situation, and they're really looking to help other businesses go through this path a little bit straighter, a little bit less convoluted. So we're looking to just have them come aboard. Like I said, they run a couple of great businesses. Adam Hill had an excellent event last month. If you're into Veterans Affairs, Green Beret medic, Mr. Webb came out and just told us part of his story, and is really looking to get more people involved in Veterans Affairs. You might want to check out Mr. Webb's work and check in with Adam Hill. But that's all I had. Just wanted to let people know. People
Okay.
stepping up, doing some public
Thanks for
service.
that. And then I'll just add that we have 2 vacancies still, so anybody who's interested. Councilmember Morales, go ahead.
Yes, 7.6, which is the ordinance amending section 3.08. Just a brief comment in terms of, we know that we just increased it like 2 years ago to 100,000, I believe. I'm comfortable with the increase because I know that our city manager understands and knows the procurement process. And so I feel very comfortable and confident that the procurement and the authority for services, materials, and equipment will be adhered to. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you for that comment. Anything? Okay, I don't have anything to add either, so let's go to public comment. Do we have any public comments on anything on the consent agenda?
Yes, Mayor Stevens, we have 2 speakers, or 2 cards right now, one for item 7.5, the other for item 7.6, and it's Andres. And as he's walking down, I'm just going to make note for item 7.7, there was a typo in the recommendation for calling the general municipal election. It did have the November 5th, 2024. It's actually November 3rd, 2026, and it was correct in the resolution. So
Okay.
with that, go
Thank
ahead.
you. Go ahead.
Good evening, Council. My name is Andres. I'm a long-term Hollister resident, 22 years. And I'm an old-school type of person. To me, trust is earned. And with trust, it takes time to be earned. I urge the City Council to wait and not to provide more authority to the city manager until her phase of probation has been completed. Trust is very important for me as a taxpayer, but also as a resident of Hollister. It takes more than 2 months to know someone. It takes more than 2 months to meet anyone, to know anyone. For that reason, I ask the City Council to wait and to reassess this authority increase at a later point. It's not like I don't trust people, I just don't trust anybody. And it takes a long time for me to trust anyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Andres.
And then Andres, you're also listed for 7.6.
Again, thank you very much for the time. To me, piggyback a little bit up, from previous point, purchasing power is the use of taxpayer money. The city manager already has $100,000 purchasing power. Does the city manager requires more than $100,000, and for what reason? It says here in the agenda, materials and equipment and supplies. I don't think, or perhaps I'm wrong, we need more than $100,000 to provide an authority to the city manager to make her job easier. I think $100,000 taxpayer money is more than enough. I don't recall any city manager requesting an increase in their purchasing power. I'm not saying it's wrong. It just takes time. It's something that we need to wait. We need to vet this person before we are giving her an 120% increase in her purchasing power. I will feel more comfortable that my tax dollars are used in a better way if the council oversees those purchases. I would rather that the city manager comes here and talks to you and talks to the community whenever she's going to spend more than $100,000. I think it's more than enough. If it's an inconvenience, I think, Hollister, it's close enough that we can all be here present whenever the city manager tries or is looking to spend more than $100,000 in this community. It says that perhaps for consulting services, I would feel more comfortable if the city council reviews any type of purchase beyond the $100,000. I actually would feel more comfortable if the city council reviews any type of purchase, at least for the time being. It's just hasn't been the time. You haven't put in the effort. It takes more than 2 months to give this type of authority and power to someone that we just met. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Andres. Any other speakers for this section?
No, there are no other speakers for the consent calendar.
Okay, thank you, City Clerk. Okay, any last minute, so I'm gonna close public comment on this section. Any last minute questions or comments? Okay, so I am going to then move for action. So if somebody wants to make a motion on the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
I second, but I just have one quick question. I didn't chime in right after you didn't give me a lot of time. For the city manager, with regard to Andres and 7.6, I hear you say a lot, and I definitely, want to believe that you mean it, but I hear you say trust but verify, right? Quite a bit. So I'm learning to trust you. When we did 2 months of going through, all of these resumes, and we went through a mountain of candidates, we got a good response for the city manager position. So when it comes to that trust but verify, I think we've selected the right person for the job in this moment. We've got some financial times coming up that are going to be very challenging to go along with the tough financial times that we've been going through for the last 15 months now, as far as I've been on here. So checks and balances to this. I mean, he's right. It's a significant increase, 120%.
Councilmember Piche, do you want to pull this item because we have a motion, and so I just need to close. We have a first, and then you second, and you had a quick question. I just want to.
I just have the one question. I just had a little bit of preamble to it.
Okay.
So do we have any checks and balances? Are you going to report out to us? Are you going to do anything to let us know what you have spent money on at meetings?
Well, Councilmember Piche, in reality, our resident is 100% right. You should not trust anybody without verifying. So let me take you back to when this item came to the council, in which we discussed whether or not a report would be needed to bring to the council every month, every quarter. There was a discussion, and Madam Clerk, you're going to have to help me, but I believe that the outcome from that discussion was bring it as needed. But I'm happy to bring it to you every month. I'm happy to bring it to you every quarter. You should indeed trust and verify.
Thank you. Well, I hope this just blaze any concerns this community member has, but I'm comfortable moving forward.
Okay.
So I'll second.
Okay, so let's do a roll call vote on this for the consent agenda.
Okay. Councilmember Piche,
Aye.
Councilmember Morales,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Deanda,
Yes.
Mayor Stevens.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So let's move into council business. 8.1, Community Development Department Reorganization. So can we get a staff report, please?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, thank you so much for entertaining this first step towards the reorganization for the city of Hollister. And I want to emphasize first step. This is not a unique step. This is not a one-off. There are a number of elements that make a city run well, and make a city run poorly. And so it is through your leadership and your trust that I am beginning to accomplish some of the changes that are needed. More are to come. Tonight, however, the focus is on the Community Development Department. By using strategic merging of the elements of this department into other departments that have strong cultures, strong leadership, a commitment to customer service, I think that we can begin to turn the corner on a topic that our community has been very eloquent about. My very first day, that was baptism by trial. But in reality, the conversations continued. And for those of you who were present at the March 12th event, but even if you were not, I gave you a report on the level of urgency. There's a tremendous erosion of trust between the community and, unfortunately, our Community Development Department. That is not staff's fault. There's been a vacuum of leadership. There have been the use of poor practices, and we are beginning to turn the corner on that. But it does give us an opportunity for us to bring some savings. The savings that are on the table right now are close to $1 million. For a city of our size, that is a savings that I cannot ignore. We do have personnel policies that tell us how we would be laying people off. Of course, it is our intention to do that. For example, our personnel policy says there's a 30-day notice that we have to provide to those affected. We will indeed be doing that. And wherever we can find ways of being lean, Councilmember Pichet, you've made a point several times of making sure that we're thinking, I mean, we have frameworks. Lean Sigma is perfect. It's a perfect framework in which you identify redundancy. Sometimes you need it, sometimes you don't. And when it comes to making sure that the outcomes are quick for a set of activities where time is money, we need to be sensitive to that. And the community has spoken very clearly on what is expected, and I'm hoping that you will support this, this reorganization.
Are you waiting for them to advance the slide, or are we going to go through the presentation, or what's the next? Okay.
I wasn't sure if we had questions, that's why I stopped.
Okay. Okay.
So let me continue then.
Yeah, I think I'll ask for questions
Okay,
after your
thank you.
presentation. Okay.
So our current structure is we have a community development director who is also the assistant city manager. We have an administrative function. And under that, we have a planning function, a building inspection function, a permit desk, and cannabis. There's also a housing person, but for the purposes of this conversation, that's under planning. So the red boxes are the ones that are being impacted by the reorganization. We are eliminating the community development assistant city manager position. We are eliminating the building officer, and we are eliminating the cannabis program manager. Those functions will now be sent to other departments. So for example, planning will now be reporting to Mr. Charles Wall, our parks director. Why? Because it makes sense for us to have a more cohesive way of planning not only our parks, but also our trails, our common areas, our open space. We have opportunities to have activation in our downtown where we have open spaces. It makes sense for that team to be there. Then the permit desk will be under the finance department. So think about it this way. We have currently 2 desks, one under CDD, one under finance. Now we will have a one-stop center where a member of the community can come and take care of all the financial functions as well as permitting functions. Ooh, can we go back? Thank you. And then the cannabis program manager tasks will be sent to the police department, where, frankly, that's where they belong. And with that, gain some savings. If we go to the next one. Thank you. So here is basically an illustration of what I just said. So under parks, we will have planning. Why? Because it makes sense to have planning in a more coordinated fashion. The functions don't change. So let me emphasize that. The functions don't change, we just need to expand. To expand so they are now part of a visionary department that, for example, will take into consideration the things that Ms. Nordstrom shared with us and actually implement. Police, again, why? Because they are already responsible of cannabis. They're the ones who actually have the structure to conduct tasks associated with this particular function. Then for finance, as I said, one-stop center. That is the goal here. One place where members of the community can come and get their various questions and issues addressed. And then last but not least, the Public Works Department already oversees public works inspectors. So they have 2 inspectors, and now they would be coordinating the inspection services, the building official from 4-Leaf. So let me emphasize, the way that we have used 4-Leaf is they are a contractor and they have provided about 100% just about of our permit desks and 100% of our inspections, with the exception of the building official. Well, now they will continue in that role, except that instead of being managed by a community development director, they will be managed by a public works director. So Mr. Hernandez will be responsible for implementing that particular component. Again, that is contract management, and as I mentioned before, I'm very confident that we can move forward with 4-Leaf. Mr. Toll has been a wonderful partner since I started connecting with him on March 13th, right after the event. And I'm confident that as we move forward, we will begin to see improvements in customer service, improvement in timelines, improvement in being able to deliver and provide consistent information, etc. Any questions?
Okay, thank you for that presentation. Any questions, Councilmember Boucher? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I did mention, I didn't exactly mention Six Sigma, but I did mention going a little bit more lean, I think I mentioned Kaizen and continuous improvement at all levels of our organization. If you see something, pick it up. If you see something that's not right, fix it. If there's something that's above your head, you need to go skip level, you need to go up in your organization, mention it. Like if we can find more efficiency at any place in our city government, why wouldn't we do that, right? So yeah, Edwards Deming, get into it. Let's try it out. Let's be more efficient. So I would like to know what city manager, like how would you characterize Hollister's current financial position, like in a nutshell? You can use like a stoplight,
So,
green for good.
Councilmember Boucher, that's not the agenda item, so I don't think we can speak to that. So we have to focus in on the restructuring of the agenda item, which is the restructuring of the Community Development Department, and the finance piece of it is a separate agenda item. So if you want to talk about specifically what's happening here, I think that's okay, but generally, I think we do have to have an agenda item to be able to speak to that.
Does the reorganization have anything to do with our financial position?
No, not at this point. So the reorganization idea evolved from our March 12th event, where it was pretty clear that there were certain actions that could not be undone. So that was the impetus for how do we accomplish what we need to accomplish. Now, obviously, savings are something that we're always looking for, regardless of our financial situation.
Okay. I'm at a loss. Go ahead.
Do you have any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, great, thank you. Questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilmember Morales.
Yes, thank you, City Manager, for the presentation. So I have a few questions. So I think the concern is for our end user, the community. How are we going to roll out communication, where people are going to go? So instead of going to a particular place, now they're going to go to Parks and Recs. It will create some level of confusion, because most people really don't align building planning with Parks and Recs. It doesn't kind of fit well. So can you kind of lay out what that communication looks like? How are we going to make sure that our customers, make sure that they're not losing more time or getting frustrated?
Of course. So one of the main goals with this restructuring is for it to be invisible to the public. The public should not have to worry about where is the planner, where is the permit tech. Our transition should be smooth enough so people don't actually see the change, other than that their concerns have been met. So the desk is still where it is, the planners are still where they are. We may be moving an administrative assistant to the finance department, but we're trying to minimize the movement to try to mitigate confusion. Again, our goal here is for the public not to know that such thing has happened, because in reality, it doesn't matter which department you're in. We will treat you the same way. We will provide those services. And if we need to move someone, so let's just say there is someone here at what is currently community development, and they need to see one of the inspectors, and the inspector happens to be at the public works yard, then the public works person comes here. We are not asking the public to go chasing our staff. We go to where the public is. And that's a little bit of a change in the mindset, but that's customer service.
So I know probably from an employee's perspective, seeing potential layoffs for your organization is probably pretty alarming, just in general. What's going on, why this change? I think our community and our employees probably haven't seen anything move so fast, at least in the 5 years that I've been here. So can you explain kind of, is there going to be a town hall or some level of communication, email or Zoom or something to our employees to say, here's kind of the vision, here's why we're moving in this direction. It doesn't mean like everybody's going to be laid off or there's going to be impacts to everybody. Can you just talk a little bit about how
Sure.
because the worst thing for an employee to do is look at a newspaper or look at an agenda and see like what's happening within my organization and why am I finding out, in a public meeting.
100%. About a month ago, Daisy Caceres, who's been helping me with scheduled a all hands on deck meeting with employees. At that point, frankly, the idea was to do more of a, hey, I'm new in town. Little by little, that the themes that will be discussed at this meeting have become a little bit more serious in nature, because we do want to make sure that the same way that we communicate with you about our reorganization, about customer service, about our budget, revenues, reserves, etc., the same way that we communicate with you, we must communicate with the employees. So the news, when we are ready to provide it, we'll try to be as accurate as possible. I think that the worst thing that can happen is to say, is this? Oh, wait, it's not. So once a narrative is released with the employees, we have to be extremely careful to make sure that that's not changing. We are talking about people's livelihoods here. This is not a light topic. This is not a conversation that should be taken lightly. So we need to be extremely careful. But to answer your question, yes, there is a meeting already scheduled. And in fact, we had started with meetings with specific departments in April. So we're starting with police. I don't remember who the second department was. But it is my intention to address and to hear questions. In a way, frankly, no different than the town hall that we had for our residents on March 12th. It's the same idea. And yes, there will be an angry table because employees will be angry. I know that, but that comes with the job.
Anything else? Okay. Vice Mayor, any questions or comments?
Yeah, I just have one question. So I just want you to share, if you can, what would be the implications if we did not go this route?
Well, I think the main implication is we're telling the folks that have been speaking quite loudly and clear about why this is necessary. I think what we're saying is that their input is not important. And I've only had 2 months worth of that input. I think you've had more than that. But in those 2 months, it's been quite clear what the next steps need to be.
Anything else? Okay. So thank you for those questions. And then City Manager, just a quick, I think that the idea of messaging, I do think that we have been doing a better job of messaging, by the way I've heard from the public, but I want to make sure that we are really highlighting that because there may be some confusion, excuse me, there may be some confusion about now I have to go to this other place and this other place. So I want to make sure that that's included. I think the what Councilmember Morales brought up around messaging, not just to staff, but also to our public, all of that's going to be key. So let's keep in that vein, continue with improving our messaging to the public and to our staff. And by the way, having said that, I have heard from various members of the public who are excited with some of the quick changes that have been made thus far, and I'm really eager to hear more about some of these other changes tonight. And so I know that there was a lot of interest from our public about having some changes in that department. And then I will just make this final comment. This is my assumption and this is my expectation. That this is something that will be continuously evaluated. Am I not right? This is like if we implement some of these changes and we realize that we missed something or that it didn't work as streamlined as we hoped, that we will be continually reevaluating this.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I think that one of the practices that I 100% commit to is that no, we will not wait 10 years to address a problem. And literally that's what I've had. I've had folks who have come to me with 10-year-old problems. You will not wait a decade for me to evaluate what we're about to do. We will know fairly quickly. You did indicate I do move quickly. Within 6 months, we'll know if this is a good idea or not. And if it's not a good idea, truth is I have a very healthy ego. I'm the first one to come back and say I was wrong, and we need to do something else. But I'd rather make a mistake.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna ask that we keep. So I'm just gonna make a really a good comment. I'm gonna expect that we in the chambers. I really appreciate the enthusiasm, and the respect for our new city manager. I'm with you on that. However, I do have to ask that we are quiet in the chambers as we're moving forward, and we will have opportunity to speak at the mic in a bit. But I am going to ask everybody to hold off on any applause or any loud noises from the chambers, just out of respect for just the whole city council meeting in general. Okay, so I'm gonna ask that of you, and then with that, I'm going to ask our city clerk, if we have any comments, and let's move to public comment.
Yes, Mayor Stevens, we currently have 8 speakers.
Okay.
The first is Andres, to be followed by Maria Mendez.
Good evening again, City Council. It's very concerning that these changes might be invisible to the customers, to the residents of Hollister. It's very problematic that we're playing with people's livelihood. We're playing with people's careers. I appreciate Councilmember Morales. You refer to the employees, how they're finding out about this, how has been the communication. Many people find out on Good Friday, during their evening, during dinner with their families. There's a question here about if this was budget related. City manager immediately said this is not related to any budget. This is related with the public opinion. There's many issues in the community. But if this is going to be invisible to the community, why to do it? This is very concerning. This is not really a novel idea. This has happened twice in the past few years in 2 different cities and 2 different states. And you guys know the outcome of those cities. Reorganization occurs. work environment changes, hostile work environment is created, you should ask yourself, what makes you think that what happened at Elena's city and Incarnation cities in Washington and Montana is not going to happen here in Hollister? You should ask yourself how much of a liability the city manager is. You should ask yourself if you're doing the right decision here with someone that you met 2 months ago. Takes more time to decide on the livelihood of people and in this community than a 2-month trial period. It's very embarrassing that this is referred as an experiment, a test. In 6 months, she's gonna come back and say, I was wrong. Guess what? I want my third severance package. That's what's gonna happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andres. Next speaker.
The next speaker is Maria Mendez, to be followed by Angie Marquez.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Maria Mendez, and I serve as a Cannabis Affairs Manager. I've dedicated nearly 20 years to the city, not only as an employee, but also as a resident. I normally don't speak on this personal capacity, but I felt it was very necessary tonight. I had no prior notice that my position was being considered for elimination tonight. Like the rest of the public, I learned it through the posted agenda, which was released on Good Friday, the start of Easter weekend. For a decision that affects careers and livelihoods, the lack of communication is deeply concerning. The staff report frames this as a crisis of public opinion. I do respectfully ask, is this truly a budget-driven decision or a reaction to political pressure? These are very different justifications and demand a lot of transparency. Why is staff being publicly evaluated without notice or the opportunity to respond? At the event that the city manager is speaking about, where the community gathered to give their comments, I never saw or heard a comment made about the Cannabis Affairs Division. Not a negative one, not a positive one, nothing. Or there's no table. I am very proud of the work that I've done for this community over the past 20 years in various departments. I urge the City Council tonight to pause, really pause, and ensure this is a fair and transparent decision. And with my statement tonight, I want to be very loud and clear. I hope that other employees who may have felt uncomfortable or even threatened know they are not alone, and that they should feel safe to speak up if they ever feel that they are in a hostile work environment. That is their right and is protected under the law. Decisions like this are more about positions. They're about trust, integrity, and most importantly, the values that we hold as a community. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Mendez. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Angie Marquez, to be followed by Jaime Gutierrez.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Angie Marquez, and I stand before you today to share my perspective as a former employee, but as a concerned community member as well. I have dedicated 7.5 years to serving the city of Hollister. Through my hard work and commitment to the department, I earned my permit tech certification and was promoted to senior permit technician. In January of this year, I was honored to become a permanent city employee. I was promoted to the permit center manager. This was not just a job to me. This was a career built on service, growth, and pride in supporting our residents in the development community. This is why my termination as of Wednesday was a surprise to me, while others are now preparing for administrative leave and layoffs, which was not brought to our attention prior. The mass layoff is what it's being called, which raises serious concerns and questions that I believe deserve to be addressed. In with reviewing some of the public release statements and staff reports, it appears that my position, along with 2 other contracted positions, were just eliminated, as well as on Friday for Good Friday. While at the same time, the city is actively posting for recruiting new positions such as 2 administrative analysis and an HR technician, which those do reside under Ms. Cortez. This raises fundamental questions. How can the city justify hiring during a declared mass layoff? What message does this send to our community and our staff? A few meetings ago, the Permit Center staff faced public criticism suggesting that we, the Permit Center, were not working hard enough to process permits quickly. That narrative was both disheartening and inaccurate. Our team worked diligently every day under increased workloads and constraints to serve this community efficiently. Remind you, those complaints were those continuously receiving code enforcement cases due to conducting work without permits. Now, with these staffing changes, I ask that you take the moment to reconsider the consequences that this will cause. Replacing experienced, specialized permit staff with employees from other departments, particularly union employees stepping into non-union roles without proper permitting knowledge, without proper permitting knowledge, and that will viably impact the service levels. Permitting is not just a simple administrative function. It requires technical understanding, coordination, and experience to navigate complex regulations and ongoing changes that the state may have and updates with laws and codes. Without this expertise, we will.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Marquez. Next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Jaime Gutierrez, followed by Ashley McPhail.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council members. I have a few questions and concerns for your consideration regarding this item. With these eliminated positions, who will specifically be picking up these tasks in these other departments? And was this reviewed with their unions they're essentially picking up an entire new job with these tasks? The second item is the requirement to process projects doesn't go away with the dissolution of the department. So this creates even more confusion for the general public that do have projects. They'll have to go to various different departments to complete the project, and we'll have to figure out if they need to submit their application to the department that typically does not have anything to do with that type of project, such as trying to submit an ADU or accessory dwelling unit permit, or a permit for a new restaurant to the Parks Department. Whether you put all the information in the world out right now, in a year or two from now, no one's going to know the process. And trying to go to the Parks Department or to the Public Works Department to start up a new business is going to be very confusing, and it's going to be very frustrating for the general public. For the directors that will take over the duties for the planning and for other building the departments, they may be very knowledgeable and very good at their current jobs, but they may not know all the items related to, say, planning or building. And so when a complex project comes up and the staff that are moved into their departments need answers for those projects, it's going to be very difficult for those leaders to provide guidance on those projects. It's great that the city wants to improve the process and improve the applications for the public. There are better and more efficient ways than to getting rid of the department. I think you should just look at the current processes, improve it where it is, and if you need more tweaking 6 months down the road, then you can do so. If you implement this now, it doesn't work down the road, it's very hard to go back and try to create essentially another department again. Please vote no on this item and work to improve the current system. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. Next speaker.
The next speaker is Ashley McPhail, to be followed by Scott McPhail.
Good evening, Council. My name is Ashley McPhail. I was the CEO of Faultline Manufacturing. I have found a shocking number of instances of unanswered emails and administrative gaps that are unheard of by everyone outside of this city. Over the last 9 years, I got my permit when I turned 21. I'm almost 30. For the last 9 years, I have documented 52 instances of these failures. Both permits for this location required Faultline required about 3 years. L+L, the neighbor unit, took 4 years for approval. Now, while the application process is expected to be super thorough, these timelines were administrative stagnation and intentional stalling. Many times she was not around during renewal windows, and neither the cannabis nor finance department would take our cashier's check of $7,636. Now imagine that, a local business owner standing outside of City Hall with a cashier's check only to be refused, and then later be told that my permit was expired and I can't even reapply because the ordinances, basically the reapplication was on hold as well. Now, I was very confused. She was not there to answer any questions, and I was very stressed, only to later claim, that on top of the total ghost town department, I was issued these red tags on work that was being done on a different unit. She gave the code enforcer my unit and even admitted in an email she was unsure where the work was being done, but proceeded to shut off the power to my unit. She was even overriding the building department's own sign-offs. Although she has my unit on file and has known my unit has been done and completed for over 6 years, she signed off on it herself even. So the green sheets, the sign-off sheets, my files, including a 600-page application and hard drives, were also lost at some point. So documents being safe with her was a constant problem. Once I got all departments to sign off on all of the sign-offs, when it came down to her turn, she lost it, and I had to go by one to all the departments and get the sign-offs again. Ultimately, I spent many resources, time, and money only to end up with another roadblock that is like a vicious cycle that never ends no matter how much I comply. I am afraid she made a brick wall for me here. I ended up with my hands tied, and the city ended up with an unhappy business and citizens. If this is how a local business owner of 9 years is treated in the city, why would I have pride in the city I grew up in? I am here today so that no other citizen has to spend their 20s fighting the very people who are supposed to serve them. Everyone's really concerned with the livelihood of our employees, understandably so, but there should be concern about the livelihoods that are now in the trash of our citizens.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to remind everybody that we can't have applause, but I appreciate your enthusiasm again, but please do not, let's just let the next speaker come up and everybody can have an opportunity to speak, but let's hold off on the applause. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Scott McPhail, to be followed by John Coulter.
Hello. Well, first I would like to speak upon the department giving it to the police department. It's already in Reynoso's hands. He calls the shots of everything. I mean, the fox is already in the hen house with him. I mean, the bottom denominator of everybody's problem is the police chief Reynoso. And Roxanne, Dolores, they don't know, they're transplants. Priscilla, Rudy, I know you know. You guys are from here. The rumors, they're not just rumors, you know. So, you cut off the head of the snake and allow the problems to go away, and that's Reynoso. So let me just reiterate what I've gone through a little bit before my attorney reiterates it to you. Around 2019, I was voted in by the city council to hold one of the only 2 dispensary permits in Hollister. 4 months later, after I spent my own money building out the facility and was ready to open, Chief Reynoso pulled my permit. He told the council I failed background check. The truth is, I have no criminal record. He made lies he made up lies to the council that I was a criminal enterprise and just blackballed me in every way he can. That license was then sold off and then sold again for $20 million. People got paid, like Ignacio, he was the ones that voted to take the ex-mayor Ignacio, voted to take the permit from me, and that's how it got into their hands and it got sold. I bought a multi-million-dollar building. I put millions in renovations into it, and I secured a tenant who had the other dispensary permit. I mean, that was a mission in itself. You guys approved it. They're allowed to open. Bryce is on the Zoom meeting right now. He'll tell you a little bit more about it. So we're ready to open, and then Reynoso steps in because he is also the code enforcer and red tags the building for things that are not even violations. They're in the building permits. Some windows were taken down and boarded up for security reasons. It's in the permit or in the application. It was approved. He says no, he wants the windows in. Red tagged it. The other thing, there was we put in a bathroom, so there's obviously has to be a ditch to put the plumbing in. It's in the scope of work. He red tagged that. I spent the past year and a half trying to fix those things. I tried to fix the red tags for a year and a half. It's all been stood up, or I've only been stood up and lied to. I was prohibited from entering any city businesses to take care of this issue. The city owes me a building, plain and simple. They owe me a lot more. So I think you should start with Reynoso. Reynoso, where you at? Because Don Juan, he's blowing it. And look at...
Thank you, Mr. McPhail. Appreciate your comments. Next speaker.
Our next speaker is John Coulter, to be followed by Carol Lenore.
You know it's Reynoso that's setting you up as the speaker. It's him that told you what to do right now.
Hello. I, like most of the people here, am here to voice our absolute support for what she plans to do in the reorganization. It's what has to be done. We have all suffered. You hear about the employees saying, oh, what about the employee and all that. They're the ones that have caused the suffering that's going on. And it's through incompetence. It's not that they're highly trained. It's not like they know what they're doing. They have done this through incompetence. And she's finally taken care of trying to do something after all this time. And so I just want to support what she's doing 100% and let you guys know that most of these people here are here to support what she wants to do with the reorganization. It's not going to cause confusion. It's going to make life the way it should be, the way it is in every other place, every other city, every other county, even San Benito County. We don't go through any of the problems that we do with the city of Hollister when it comes to building and planning. So I just want to voice my support for her. And you've been here for 2 months. I trust you completely because I come in, she speaks to me, she looks at what's going on, and she makes sense. Nobody else does. So I just want to thank you for choosing her to be the city manager and let you know that I'm behind her 100%.
Thank you, Mr. Coulter. Next speaker. Okay, again, I'm going to ask you to hold off your applause. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Carol Lenore.
Is she on Zoom or here in person?
She is. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Lenore.
Okay, there we go. Good evening, Mayor and City Council.
Good evening.
And Ms. Cortez, I have not met you yet, but I am a retiree from the city of Hollister, 24 years, and it was spent 20 years in planning up there on Park Hill. So I worked with a lot of development service director, not only in the city, but the county as well, because I had 10 years there. So I have questions. Well, I do compliment you on answering the development community's concern about the building official. I really like that call, but I was expecting that you were going to hire another building official because I thought general law cities were required to have a building official. I could be wrong there. But then my other concern is, and no slight to Mr. Wall or Mr. Hernandez, but what qualifications does Mr. Wall have, for an example, to guide planning? That's a lot of stuff you have to know, and a lot of agencies you have to work with. COG, LAFCO, MBARG, ABARG, all of them. So does he have all that knowledge? How is he on the state mandate? Where does he sit on RENA? And then as well, the merging of the inspectors. You got a public works inspector, you got a building inspector. Nothing alike. Those are two different books. I have never seen those cross over. I work with a lot of building inspectors over there in the city. You had some good ones. They just got off track because they thought they didn't have to hurry up. And government runs too slow, that's for sure. But I myself had to wait 2.5 months for a simple rebuild permit. And the 2 weeks, very frustrating. But I'm so glad and happy that you are addressing that. But I am got a lot of questions about the qualifications of those two department heads to run planning. And please remember, planning is your most important department. I know police and fire really is, but planning is the one that drives your mother document. They have to have a good grasp on that. These are not simple documents. The gentleman previous said you get complex projects, you're going to need somebody with a really, the master's degree in planning. There's a lot of experience. So I just was going to look for some answers as to why you think that's going to cross over. I've never seen that 35 years in government. I've never seen planning merge with parks or merging building inspector and a public works inspector. But you know what? Thank you very much for your efforts. And I wish you the best. I'm actually moving soon, been here my whole life, but I do have concerns about planning. And just so you know, I was the planning commissioner on the general plan that you guys all threw out. So I'm a little concerned there too. Okay, thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Lenore.
Thank you, Mayor.
Next speaker.
Those are all the speakers we have for this item.
Okay, so I'm going to close public comment, and then I will bring it back to the City Council, see if there's any additional questions or comments. Councilmember Boucher, any questions or comments?
I must have read this all wrong when I went through the agenda, because I am failing to see how this is not connected to our current financial position.
Well, it is,
I have this. This feels like it's directly connected. Say again.
Wait, hold on a second. Hold on. Let's just make sure that we're muted.
She's still on.
Yeah.
I'm glad we have a moment of levity in here, but this whole last year has been a calamitous financial year. It's been really tough all year long, and the reorganization, I mean, if it's not connected up to any kind of a, our financial situation in any way, what more can you tell us about, what slide is this? The proposed structure slide. You let us know, we're going to increase planning coordination by putting planning under parks. The police have expertise in the cannabis affairs. One-stop center, probably streamlining and improving. I'm assuming we're going to get some additional oversight. Like, what can you tell us about the benefits of this reorganization? Because there's some concern here.
Indeed. So, Council Member, as far as your larger question about finances, yes, we are not in good financial footing. You can look at the members of the public can look at the budget discussions that you had a year ago as you were going into the current fiscal year. We are not a rich city. We are a city that has historically used its fund balance, meaning that we have borrowed from ourselves so that we can balance budgets. We are a city with a tiny, if even, existing reserves. By good practices, we should have anywhere between 17.6% to 20% in reserves. We don't have that. So anything and everything that we do in this city has a financial context. So let me address that. Not for a second should you think that a position is just a position. We have to look at the cost-benefit analysis of that position. For example, one of the positions that is high in my priority list is the Human Resources Director. That one's a no-brainer. The city has bled money because we haven't had that expertise in-house. We spend significant dollars with legal counsel because we don't have that expertise in-house. And we have gotten ourselves into trouble because we don't have the expertise in-house. It's super important, and yet I'm not sure that I can afford it. So as important as it may be, and yes, I'm recruiting for one, but I don't know that I will be in the position to actually hire that person. So that just to give you a sense that everything and anything that we do has a financial context to it. Now, as far as what folks have talked about, so let me be very clear. The same planners that we have right now will still be here tomorrow. Before, those planners were not supervised by a planner. So that has not changed. I can also tell you that the inspectors that are here today will be here tomorrow. They work for 4 leave. The difference is that now we actually will have an engineer that is overseeing those inspectors. So in fact, now the person overseeing that team actually has the skill set in construction. Our engineer is a civil engineer. So that's an improvement. And then as far as customer service, which is the permit tech. So the permit techs are, what I like to think of them is like the triage nurse in an emergency room. Things come through the door, it's chaotic, and maybe you need an orthopedic doctor, maybe you need a brain surgeon, maybe you need an ophthalmologist. That triage nurse is the one who's supposed to figure out which are the doctors that are needed in this equation, and then to case manage them, or project management, either word, because the reality is that the surgeons are doing their thing, but if the triage nurse is not keeping track of what the patient is going through and the things that need to happen as far as medications, as far as treatment, it falls apart. That's a permit tech. It's someone that can project manage, and that set of skills we currently have in the finance department. That is the department where we do try to hire individuals that are very careful about detail, who are very trustworthy because they do handle cash in the city, and who are employees of the city. The permit techs that we have today do not work for the city. They work for 4 leave. So again, they will be here tomorrow. But in the meantime, we will train our own staff to take over those positions. That is because we want those union positions to be held by people that are actually our employees, not contractors. I hope I've answered your question.
Well, it helps. Some of the community members have expressed concern that positions that we are considering losing are going to be subject matter experts. We're going to lose experience in a time when we don't have the best experience as far as what we've been hearing for a year at specifically the permit desk. I'm not sure that we can lose people with a wealth of experience. What can you tell us about that?
First of all, they don't have a wealth of experience. So what I can tell you is that 4 Leaf has acknowledged that they use the city of Hollister as training grounds for permit techs. So let me start with that myth. No, we don't have experts. We have people that come and get trained in the city. Second, they are not our employees. They work for 4 Leaf. We are going to now be training our own staff, building our own capacity, and our ability to sustain those services. So that's a myth. Then as far as I go back, planning is planning. The planners are staying. They're not going anywhere unless they want to. Our building official, we have a building official. Her name is Jessica Edwards. I introduced her to you about 3 weeks ago. And what I can tell you is that when Ms. Edwards came, within 24 hours, we had improved our systems. It was her who said, no, 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 we don't need appointments. People should be able to just drop in and bring their materials. That was her. I cannot take the credit. She was the one who figured out that our processes were overly complicated, and which is why things were falling between the cracks. I trust that building official to continue leading the way. She's not going anywhere. She'll be here tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Any other questions?
I'm good for now.
Okay, let me check on this side. Councilmember Morales, go ahead.
Questions, comments, right? So I want to thank the community for showing up. It does make a huge difference in terms of what you say, because it does weigh what we hear. And, you know, as a council member, nobody really calls you to say you're doing a great job. You're pretty much getting calls saying, this is not working, this is not working. So since I got elected, this has been one of my priorities. We've held town hall meetings with every single city manager since I've gotten here. And we've had many conversations, we've had several trials, we've had several everything, and I think to the point where it made things worse. I don't think things got any better. And so I actually look forward to this reorganization, because we really have to look at how we do business differently. This is an impact not only to our community, to our businesses. A lot of our businesses have closed. Not a lot. Businesses have closed. It's an economic impact. It's also limiting choices for our community members. They're going out of the city to spend their money. We have a bad reputation. People don't want to do business with us because they know that it is going to be next to impossible to go through our departments and to get what they need done. And it's going to cost them 2 to 5 times more than anywhere else. So it is something that we're now going to have to build trust with our community, with our business partners. We're going to have to reinfuse our economy by looking at how we do things better, more efficient, easier, look at customer service as the staple of how we do business. We have to build trust, as many of you have said, build trust now with decades of how we've been looking at the process. And so I welcome this change. We are going to evaluate, so we do trust and verify, right? We're going to see if this is working. You will know very quickly if things are getting better. You've seen in the last 2 months how things have changed. And the only way to make change is actually by just moving forward and analyzing and evaluating how things are working. I do want to ask, and thank you for verifying that we are going to be having a conversation with our employees to let them know this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing, this is how we are going to do business in the city of Hollister. This is a partnership with our community, with our employees. We're in this together because that's the only way that we can actually survive in a small town. And so I thank you for the presentation. I thank you for your courage. We know that this is hard to do. And I'm just looking forward to, making progress, and thank you for this.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Morales. Vice Mayor, any questions or comments?
Oh, yeah, I just want to make a comment. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. I, too, Dolores, Councilmember Morales, that was amazing, and everything she said, 100% agree. But I just would like to say that, change is really uncomfortable, the unknown, right? The fear, and unfortunately, there are people that are impacted by it. But in reality, we're here, we work for you, we work for our community, and we're listening, and this is part of the job, essentially. And I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic. Things are starting to break down. We see that nationally, globally. I see this change as a really great opportunity for our city. It's a perfect time for our community to come together and, just try to work towards building a better community, a better Hollister, to move forward, try something we haven't tried before. And yeah, I'm just really excited about it. And I just want to thank you, Anna, for everything that you're doing. It's excellent. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Appreciate those comments. Okay, so again, I'm going to remind you to hold off on your applause. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm not going to belabor the point. I do appreciate the hard work behind this. I agree with the reorganization. I think that ultimately, when it's like the changes were they were either non-existent or way too slow. So these changes that seem to be pretty quick, for me and what I've heard from the public, it's a long time coming. So I'm glad that we are able to do this. The reevaluation of this is not about an experiment. What the changes that have been put in place and some of the things that we're doing with this reorg are some of it are basic customer service, some of them are basic practices within other planning and building departments. So I don't see this in any way experimental. The reevaluation process is an ongoing process, which I think any leader is constantly having to do as you're evaluating whether we need to make a tweak here, make a tweak there, make a change here, make a change there. It's a constant reevaluation of our processes. It's not enough to just make a change and then turn your back on it and then hope that everything works out. So it's just an ongoing practice for any leader, any city manager, any person holding any kind of a leadership position with levels of responsibility. So that's just something that will be just a common practice as we are continuing to work towards improvements in this area. So that is all my comments. I'm going to bring it back to the members of the council and ask for a motion on this item.
Ms. Mayor?
No, you're not allowed to speak from the dais. Can I get a motion, please?
Well, what about Reynoso? What do you do about the dirt
So we're going to ask that you not do that. If you want to put in a speaker card, please put it up to our city clerk for the next item. But we're at action. So
Make
go
a
ahead.
motion to approve.
Okay. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, nobody opposed, so let's move on. So we're going to move on to our next item. We're at 8.2. 8.2 is a resolution rescinding resolution number 2021-106 and adopting the revised policy and procedures from naming and renaming of city assets. Okay, so I'm going to ask as you file out of the chambers to keep your voices down as we continue with our meeting. Okay, so can we get a staff report, please?
Yes, Mayor, City Council, Charles Wall, Parks and Rec Department.
Okay, let me just ask people, as you walk out, can you please keep your comments low and walk out quietly? Thank you, as we continue with our meeting. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Charles.
Of course. So as you know, at the special meeting on March 19th, we discussed the naming of the park, and with that discussion, we discussed the policy of naming parks and amenities. So staff went back with your recommendations and amended that policy, and the major points of that policy change remove using individual names moving forward. And so that has been removed from the policy, along with a few amendments, which I've highlighted, and I'll go over here so you understand the major changes. The city manager or their designee will have authority for items under that $220,000 mark for naming. We often get different donations and things, and people request the name on those. That might be something like a pavilion, a tree, a bench, any of those kind of items. That's when the city manager or their designee would have purview to approve that name. Of course, anything over that $220,000 or more mark would come to City Council for naming through the Park Commission once we have that commission formed. We've been having trouble getting enough for that commission, so if you're interested, please understand that we are looking for folks interested in the Park Commission. Sorry, had to put that out there.
Thank you for that.
And then Also on this, as amendments go, we did include that donated areas may recognize businesses, corporations, foundations, or groups. We would love to see more sponsors and donors for our community. We want to see our parks and our facilities grow, and as part of that, we need business partners and different community partners. So we've put that in here, that we can recognize those businesses, groups, foundations, whatever it is, once those donations start coming. Completed applications valued at $220,000 or more will go through the Park Commission to the council. We'll have a 30-day review period, and those are the major changes. Any questions?
Okay, thank you for that. Councilmember Shea, I'll start with you. Any questions or comments?
So, when it comes to, naming, things like buildings and roads and these conventions, would city staff be just using these, be the ones changing the names of, like, let's say, Avenida Cesar Chavez?
So
Or
that
who would
will-
actually be selecting the name?
That will be part of the next discussion that we have. We have 2 more agenda items coming up for both the park and
Okay.
the Avienda. Right now, we are just discussing the policy. And again, that basically would be a city manager or their designee at those items under 220, and then city council for any items above.
Oh, copy that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments on this side of the dais? Councilmember Morales, go ahead.
So I see the 220 because we just passed policy, of course, for that, so it's tied into that. But it's within your purview to be able to name for individuals, right? So you can name something if it's under 220.
We've been asked to remove individuals from this policy altogether. In the past, we have had memorial benches, those kind of items. At this point, that the direction was that individuals' names be removed from this policy.
So what is that? We have centers right now that have people's names. Are those going to be removed as well?
So there is a section on this policy that states that existing names are found to be historic or have value to the community. Though there is, in this policy, if that individual is found of any kind of wrongdoing or anything that may not be appropriate for the city to represent, at that point, we can address renaming those. But they do not necessarily, that's at the council discretion, basically, of that no longer represents the city, well, we should consider that. But no, anything from the past is historically there, and we consider that historically relevant to the city.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor, any questions? Okay, and then I just wanted to clarify your comment about donors, because I think you might have followed up with this, because simply because something is donated does not mean that they necessarily should bear the name. However, some kind of way to honor that person's contribution, like a plaque, a bench. There's other ways to do that. So I think you clarified that. So I want to just, that was going to be part of my questions. And is there anything else that you want to add related to that?
On that portion, no. And that would also go through a review policy. We would expect that donor, if it was a business, we would look at them, make sure that they have been impactful to the community and that their donation impacts the community in a positive way. That's when we would approve that name be put on that item, whether it's a playground or building or whatever that might be.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. So I'm going to go to public comment. Any public comments on this item?
No comments for this item.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to the dais. Any further questions or discussion? This side, okay, I'm not seeing none, so can I get a motion on this item?
Motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, no opposing, so let's move on to the next item, 8.3, resolution rescinding Resolution 2023-101, naming a city park, the Cesar Chavez Community Park. Can we get a staff report?
Sure, this is very simple. Again, we discussed this on March 19th at the special meeting. This item is simply rescinding the name Cesar Chavez from the park. The discussion for names will come in the future after community outreach.
Okay, thank you for that. Questions, comments, council, okay? Any questions or comments on this side of the dais? No. Okay, and then, yes, I do want to just reiterate what you just said, Mr. Wall, that at this point, especially because that park is in its stages of being built, that we will, the reconsideration of a name for that park would be a little easier. And I think the important piece in this is that we will be doing an active outreach to the public to get ideas. So we want to just reiterate that. Okay, with that, public comment on this item.
No public comments for this item.
Okay, okay, so I'm going to bring it back to the dais. Any other further questions or comments on this item for the park?
Nope. I'd like
Okay,
to make
not-
a motion to approve.
Okay, and can I get a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that item passes. So then we will move on to the next item, and let me get my page right. We're at 9.4, a resolution rescinding resolutions numbers 2022-1-139 and 2022-146, named Union Road to Cesar Chavez Way and subsequent to Avenida Cesar Chavez. Can we get a staff report, please?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This again is, as Mr. Wall indicated, this is strictly a resolution resolution rescinding a previous resolution that was adopted 2022-139 and then subsequently by 2022-146, with ultimately naming former Union Road to Avenida Cesar Chavez.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Okay, so let me bring it to the council. Any questions or comments on this one?
Yeah, I just have a quick comment. This item brought up a lot of hurt, right, on both sides. People who, you know, despite the recent allegations, appreciate what Cesar Chavez did for the farm working community, and his efforts were duly noted. I mean, did a lot of good for a lot of people and bringing awareness to the working conditions and pay and living conditions of people who basically doing God's work, you know, making food grow from the ground with the power of the sun. It's incredible. And anybody who spends any kind of time at a farmer's market or goes down to the produce section of the grocery store appreciates our farm workers. They're victims of this situation as well, you know, so that street name, it causes a lot of pain on both sides of the aisle. So anywhere you sit, it's just a painful thing. My thought has always been Union Road is Union Road from 156 to Fairview. You know, the only concern I had was why we changed it to Avenida Cesar Chavez initially, which is if there was a fire or there was an incident and we needed first responders, there could be some duplication of locations that the police would need to respond to, costing precious time in a critical moment. So making it, Union Road East made just a lot of sense to me. It just takes the whole political aspect out of it completely. That's all I had.
Okay, thanks for that comment. On this side of the dais, go ahead, Councilmember Morales.
So we're going to rename it East Union Road.
Go ahead.
I do believe that this item is simply rescinding the
Right.
name, which would, I think, automatically put it back to Union Road, which is what it formerly was. I think the discussion for a potential name in the future would be a separate item, as far as I understand.
The resolution states East Union Road. It says,
does.
be it further resolved.
Yes, it does state that in the resolution. Thank you. I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
Right. The resolution was drafted up as I think it was. This item was prior to the naming resolution that Charles. So we'd have to revise this resolution to determine the name of the road in a future meeting.
So the intention, council members, Madam Mayor, is to use item 8.2, which is the framework that you approved, to then decide what the name of this road should be.
So the reason why I ask is because I thought we were going to use the old signs that we have in storage so that it was going to be cost neutral, but it says in the resolution or in the documents that it's going to cost us $3,400. But is that cost for employees, or because the signs are going to be recycled, right?
No, those signs are no longer, they've been recycled, so we don't have the signs. So the pricing for reconstruction or reforming of those signs is about $1,400, and then there's staff time included with installation of the new signs.
So the first question, Councilwoman, is what is the name? And we have not decided because we didn't have a framework. Now we have a framework. The second part of that would be depending on that framework, which is the name that makes more sense, and also looking at finances. So when we had this meeting, Mr. Hernandez thought that we had those signs, and so he indicated that via text. However, we don't have those signs, and so now we have to incur those costs. So that'll be the second step. The first step is rescinding the name.
So I guess my question is it going to be East Union Road or is it Union Road? What is it going to end up being temporarily?
So it will depend on so part of the framework is that we are putting several steps to bring ideas back to the community.
Mm-hmm.
We have not done so. So in fact, when I received the report, I changed in the report because we were already making the assumption that it would say Union Road. I'm not making that assumption anymore because based on the framework, we are supposed to share different names with the community. So for example, for the park, we had a list of names, which we share with a particular group this past Saturday, but we will also bring it to the west side to have conversations with people in, for example, the supermarket, in which we can offer some choices. So that community engagement piece had not taken place, which is why it's inappropriate for us at this moment to say that it will be Union, East Union, West Union, or Union. We're not sure. It depends on what the process will lead.
Okay, so it's going to stay the same until we finish the community engagement piece. So it's not going to be, so the resolution then just needs to be updated and the cost needs to be updated, because right now people not listening to us right now are going to assume that it's going to be a cost and it's going to be East Union, because that's what the resolution states. So at some point, we need to amend the resolution to.
They can do that next time.
Yeah, and we
Correct.
can do
Right.
that through a
Madam
motion.
Clerk.
Yeah.
And we can admin it administratively here, depending on what council determines. So I've got it open. I have it ready. I think the decision is, where do we go from here for staff? Is it going to be rescinded until a new, are we going to put a name up for now, a temporary one, as Councilman Morales mentioned, or is it going to stay as it is currently until a new name is picked? There needs to be a sign. There needs to be some sort of name for it, is my understanding.
Yeah.
So I would say leave it as is so that we don't incur additional costs and then have to incur additional costs when we change it again. Because then it's going to be very confusing for anyone looking at maps. It's going to create additional work for our staff and anybody that uses the GPS system. So I think leave it until we're done with the process, and then, because otherwise we're going to do it twice.
Right. Okay, thank you for that comment. Vice Mayor, any questions or comments?
Yeah, I agree with the council member Morales. If there was no cost to it and we were able to recycle the Union Road sign, I would have said, go for it, put it up temporarily, but to just create a new one and then just to replace it with something that the community comes up with, I think it's just a waste of time and resources. We're just following a bureaucratic process, and I think we're doing what we need to do, and so, yeah.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that. And then, I concur with the comments that we've heard so far. And also, I just, City Manager, just want to check in so that I want to make sure that we're pretty clear and the public is clear about what that outreach process looks like, as well as how long my expectation is that it's a very quick turnaround and that we have a really clear way to engage with the public to get a diversity of voices, that we are talking to a number of groups, reaching out at, as you said, maybe at grocery store parking lots, but that it's a quick process and that we have that the way in which we do it results in a diversity of voices. So can you talk a little bit about that?
And I will tell you that we already have, I think, a couple of winners. Avenida de los Campesinos, I think it's, oh, here we go. And Campesina Road, I think, was the other one. So Camino Campesino, Avenida de Campesinos. So those are the top ones. I can tell you some of the other ideas. Avenida de Campesinas, Avenida Cosecha, Avenida de Libertad, Avenida Vida Campesina, Avenida Vida Campesino. So this is easy. So please, let me reassure you, we're not contracting consultants and paying them $1 million to do community outreach. This is something that I will personally do between now and next weekend. It'll be done by next week. We'll have the names.
And did you say by next meeting, or did you say?
By next weekend, we'll be done with the outreach and we'll have some solid names to give to you. So by the time that we meet again, it'll already be a done deal.
So and then you'll bring it to us for consideration at the dais, right?
If the cost is over $220, but I'll bring it anyway because this is very important to you.
No, I think it'll be good to just kind of put a bow on it, right?
Yeah.
And but I appreciate the quick turnaround. We do need the quick. I just want to just reiterate the expectation, City Manager, that we have a way to do that. Not quickly is important. However, also that we're ensuring that we have a variety of voices, and that and variety of ways that the public can give their opinion, so that we're not just targeting one specific group, one specific or a few, but that we really do feel like we have a good showing in terms of opinion.
Yes.
Okay.
And let me reassure you that I am perfectly aware of the diversity within our community.
Yeah.
Not everybody's an immigrant. Not everybody is third generation California, right? So we may have the same last names, but our cultures are different,
Yeah.
and therefore we have to be sensitive to that.
Sure. Okay, great. Thank you for that. Okay, let me check in with our city clerk. Any public comment on this item?
There are no public comments for this item. I do want to, before we take a motion and vote, I do want to clarify the resolution whenever you're ready.
Okay. Okay, I'm bringing it back to the dais. So I think we are ready to hear that, so that before we entertain a motion that we know what we're taking action on.
Okay, so I did update the resolution to remove the two clauses that refer to the duplicate street names, and then also designating it as East Union Road. And then it took that out, and I did add a whereas, and this is where I need clarification from you. Whereas a new name for Avenida Cesar Chavez will be selected according to the policy adopted by Resolution 2026-41, which is the one that you did earlier. However, it sounds like that's not the plan. You actually want it to come back to the City Council for adoption. Is that correct?
I think that it would be. Let me say this. Two things that I'm going to say. They may be contradictory, so I'm going to need some help from city manager and city clerk. I do think that for this one, because it evokes such strong emotion, I think it would be good to bring it back. However, I want to also make sure that we're following the policy. Okay. So those two may be in conflict, and so I'm asking for your help how we can accomplish both.
Absolutely. So that's going to be my suggestion, to leave that clause in there, because that's how we're selecting the names. But then then it says, now therefore be it resolved, you're rescinding the other resolutions, but be it further resolved that the portion of Union Road between Airline Highway, Highway 25 and Fairview Road, and so this is where I want the clarification, will be renamed by the city council. So we're going to select the name as stated earlier according to the policy, but the renaming will actually come back to the city council. Does that meet what everyone is understanding and looking for right here?
Yeah, I think that's okay. I think that's okay. And just I want to just reassure the public that we will be wanting to hear the results of the outreach, obviously, because that will definitely influence what we're doing up here at the dais. And then, yeah, so then if, with that, I think that we will then be able to accomplish both.
Okay.
It sounds like.
Okay.
Okay, and it sounds like everybody up here seems to think that that's okay. That's an okay process. Okay, so are we then ready with that, with those changes? Then I want to entertain a motion with those changes to the resolution.
I make a motion to approve with the amended changes by our city clerk.
Thank you, Councilmember Morales. Can I get a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, no opposition, so that one passes. So let's move on. Okay, so we're at committee assignments, and this is an opportunity for council members to report on any activities on ad hoc, standing committees, and other committee assignments. So, Councilmember Fichet, anything to report?
I do. On March 19th, I don't believe I brought this up or gave this report out, but we received a few informational reports. Probably the most important one was the State Route 25 Corridor Improvement Project. Caltrans representatives went through kind of like how there was a community outreach, right? People were given the opportunity to voice their opinion on 9 alternatives as to what we do on California 25. So hopefully people, took that seriously, because there will for sure be people who are concerned about what ends up happening out on California 25, because they had an opportunity to voice their opinion. Hopefully they did that. Otherwise, it would just end up being complaining. But Caltrans went through a high-level overview of the 2 most popular options, which were option 8 and 9, which is effectively just widening it and adding a roundabout, shore. And the other one is like a full-blown, due to California 25, what we did to 156. I believe those were the 2 most popular items. But they went through and explained to us how they basically tabulated all of that information and how they screened the alternatives. So if anybody wants to check that out, you can. It is on San Benito Council of Governments website and Caltrans.
Okay, great. Thanks for that report. And I was going to give a very similar report, so thanks for doing that. I don't have to do that now. Okay, let me go on this side. Councilmember Morales.
Yes. So as your representative to the Integrated Waste Management Regional Agency Local Task Force, I'm excited to share details about our upcoming Earth Day celebration. This wonderful community event will take place on April 25th from 11 to 2 p.m. at the State Historic Park in San Juan Bautista. Join the celebration to learn how to compost at home, view performances, and the ever-popular Ecology Art Poster Contest Gallery and Award Ceremony featuring and celebrating the youth in our community. Learn from over 20 community partners providing interactive activities for all ages. New this year, San Benito County Local Transportation Authority will be offering a free Earth Day shuttle from Hollister to San Juan Bautista, starting at 10:50 a.m. at the 4th and San Benito bus stop. And the last bus out of San Juan Bautista for free will be at 2:30 p.m. at their temporary stop at 2nd and Polk Street. I sincerely hope that my fellow community members and colleagues attend this important and enjoyable celebration of our planet. Please come join us in making a difference and learning more about environmental sustainability. That is all.
Okay, thanks for that report. Vice Mayor?
Nothing to report at this time.
Okay, and the only thing that I'm going to report on is I believe the last time I was here, I talked about an animal services meeting that we were having and we were going to report, and we actually had to reschedule that, so that will be coming next month as we had to reschedule that one. And then secondly, I think the only other one was tourism advisory, where we talked primarily about signs, about how we would phase in a plan for putting up signs throughout the county that will help people to identify where things are. So that is an ongoing conversation, and so I will continue to report on progress related to that. And that's all I have. Okay, so I am going to move this forward to our city manager for city manager report.
Thank you, Council, Madam Mayor, members of the public. My report will be quick. 3 things. Economic development. It was so wonderful to hear the presentation from Ms. Nordstrom, because she spoke to so many of the goals, the visions, the dreams that we're trying to focus on. I think that the city for a long time has been putting off fires because they're needed. But what happens when you do that is you don't have time to dream. You don't have time to think the big thoughts in the bold next statements. I found her presentation incredibly inspirational, but also consistent with some of the internal conversations that we're having. Part of the budget, so I'll give you a little bit of a preview. Part of the budget will focus on economic development as a force that we need to embrace, as a goal that we need to pursue, so that our financial situation doesn't have to be so dire every year. We are not a rich city. We are a poor city. And the only way to change that is through economic development. And so a lot of the ideas that this young leader shared with us today, imagine that in a way that attracts thousands of people to our city during weekends. Yes to the events. One of the narratives out there is that, that the rally takes a lot of resources. And what I say to that, the rally, we should have 4 of those. That's economic development. We know for a fact that during the rally weekend is when our hotels tell us that's the only time that they're sold out. That's economic development. And so behind me, there's a map that we put together to start the conversations about economic development hubs, places where we can start focusing our efforts. Notice the downtown. So if we're gonna equate, this is where a lot of the activities happen right now, including the rally. So imagine, if you will, if we have events also at the airport, also what I'm calling Target, the hospital district, having identity, so we can actually call these districts. I'm calling it True Value is the West Side. So to begin having conversations about what economic development means and what we're trying to accomplish in each of those 4 areas. It's just the beginning, but her presentation was very inspirational, so I wanted to bring it back. Any questions about that before I go to sewer?
No.
All right, so with Seward, we've been busy. Last week we had a preliminary conversation with the Water Board. As you may recall, the Water Board sent us a letter a notice of violation, in which they outline a number of problems that we need to fix. They provided feedback on the information that we had, and we have had a number of meetings with Veolia, including one tomorrow, to really discuss how we provide the Water Board with as much information as possible and to be proactive and make sure that we don't get into this kind of situation again. We are happy with the partnership as it stands right now. We are unhappy about some of the actions that didn't take place last year, but we are, I hope, in a upswing with our relationship with our operator. And the good news is that the smell has decreased. We know that, and unless you've heard otherwise, that seems to be finally getting to be something we control. Questions?
Okay. No
Okay.
questions. Thank you for that.
Water, real quick. So the new water, for members of the public that may be listening to this meeting, the new rate will be effective April 17th, and that was the bridge rate that we had indicated that will take us until the new rate takes place. Madam Mayor, at one point you had indicated that you wanted that rate as soon as possible. And as it turns out, because of our financial situation, indeed, we will bring a rate increase back to you during the budget process. It's not gonna happen in the fall, it's happening right now. And literally, that's what I've been working on right now, trying to multitask. We will have a rate because it is that urgent. The idea that I would wait until the fall actually is not real. We need to bring that to you as soon as possible, and it'll be part of the budget conversation. Any questions?
Okay, not seeing any. So thank you for that report, City Manager. So I think we're going to move on then to closed session. On the closed session items, I'm going to ask you to read the closed session items.
We have closed session, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9.
Okay, thank you. Public comment?
There are no public comments for the closed session item. Before we log off, I do want to let our attorney for the evening and also our city council member, Councilmember Resendez is going to plan to join it there, I believe. I'm going to send you a Zoom link right now. So you'll have that for closed session. So.
Okay, so we're going to clear the chambers, take a quick little break, and then we will start in.